Okay, so today in America at War, we're going to look at Civil War weapons. And after this, we'll watch a little 30-minute video on the weapons in the Civil War and actually see how they're loaded and how they're shot and stuff like that. Kind of fun. Alrighty. So let's start out with the different bullets used in the guns during the Civil War. They started with a musket ball, and you'll see a picture of it there. Musket ball was, they used smooth bore muskets. And what I mean by that is inside that long part of the gun, there's nothing to guide the bullet. It's just flat, right, and smooth. And so what would happen is when this bullet was shot, it would go bing, 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 like a what do you call those little games? Pinball, yeah, there you go, like a pinball machine. And it would go all the way down the barrel, which is why it was not very accurate, because it's going ping, 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 right? So it was not as accurate. Had a range of about 50 yards. So how many yards is a football field? 100. So you figure about a half, right? About a half. That's about as far as you would be, at least accurately anyway. I'm going to hand around a little box here, and inside here are actual bullets from the Battle of Gettysburg. And you'll see that it has a musket ball, and then it'll also have a mini ball in here that we're going to talk about next. So you can take a look at those a little bit. All right. After the musket ball came the mini ball. It was named after Frenchman Claude Monet, and it was adopted by the U.S. Army in 1855. Notice that that's before the Civil War, right? Civil War started in 1861, but not everybody had caught up with the current weapons and the current stuff. Mostly Union used this stuff because they had northern factories to make these beautiful guns and these beautiful bullets. You'll notice there are 3 rings on here. You see right here, right? And those are to capture the grease so the bullet slides down the barrel smoothly. The other thing that they added about this time is rifling inside the barrel of the gun so that it guides it as it goes, right? Which makes it much, much more accurate. And it had a range of about 300 yards. So think about that. That's now what? About 3 football fields. Really changes the war. And notice, this is mostly a Union gun. So that means the Union can shoot from further away. They have a real advantage, right? Now let's talk about how to load a cannon. Actually, in world history, they were talking about one of Da Vinci's inventions was a 3-barreled cannon. Because it was so slow to load a cannon, they thought that would work a lot better. Now the first thing they did is they took this thing right here. Looks like a big Q-tip. And they shove it down there because it's wet. It's a sponge. And it's to put out all the sparks. So there's no flames coming or little pieces of spark left over from the last shot. Then they take this wormer, and you'll see a close-up of it right here. It's like a broomstick with this little wormer on the end. And they shove that down, and that's to clean out all the gunk inside there, because obviously there's a lot of leftover refuse. Then they take a powder bag, like a 5-pound bag of sugar. That's your gunpowder in there. And they shove that thing down the cannon. Then you put in your cannonball. So the powder's going to shoot that ball out. Then they take a ramrod to push it all down nice and tight and pack it. Then they'll have one of 2 things to actually ignite it. They'll either have a lanyard, which is actually pulled to create a spark back here by the back side of the cannon, or they'll have a torch and they'll touch the pick hole, like there's a little hole there, with gunpowder, and they light it, and then that'll ignite the gunpowder, and the gunpowder will shoot that ball straight out. So imagine all the steps that takes. And if you remember, I showed you that drawing, how many people it took in a cannon, right? There were like 6 people, because each of them did one of those jobs so they could load it as quickly as possible. But it's still really slow. You'll see that in the video. Now, when we talk about cannonballs, there were different kinds. Some people have asked me that, and they're right, okay? First of all, you have solid balls, and those were typically used for forts or ships to put a hole in the wall or put a hole in the side of the ship, right? It is solid. This is why you'll actually see that they grease the sides of the ships with lard, because they hope that the ball, when it hit, would slide off instead of doing damage. It's also why some of your beginning ships will actually have the sides like this, or like this. Oh, I just used the wrong marker. Oh my gosh. That's not good. Like this, like this, no, this, like this, off instead of actually hitting the ship. Um, they also began to start building forts out of dirt because as the cannonball would hit, it would absorb all of the heavy ball hitting. So a lot of those forts weren't all made out of brick or rock or whatever. Then they also exploding cannonballs, and those were typically used in battle. As soon as they shot, it would actually explode into a bunch of like hundreds of pieces, and it's basically like shrapnel. And those little pieces of metal that this thing breaks up into, I mean, imagine all the little pieces, and they're coming at you fast, right? They'll rip off an arm, a leg, open up your gut real nice. So they worked pretty well. Okay. All right. We also had what we call Grapeshot that they used in cannons. Basically, 26 iron balls in one load. Remember when Sergeant Peterson was here and he dropped that really heavy ball on your desk and scared you a little bit? That's what we're talking about. It's really heavy. Well, they would load actually 12 of them at one time. And sometimes they would actually do a double load of 52 of those. And it's about the size of a shooter marble, if you remember what that looks like. And it works like a shotgun. We have some hunters in here, yeah? Okay, so how is a shotgun different from a rifle? Who hunts in here? Raise your hand. All right, so Kyle, how is it different? It's as soon as you shoot, the BB's spread, right? So now imagine that on a cannon-sized scale, right? Again, those balls are coming at you hard and fast, and they're tearing off arms and legs and stuff. However, they don't shoot quite as far as a cannonball. So when we see our battle scenes, you're going to see they're going to get hit with cannonballs because they shoot further. And then as they get closer up, you'll see in Gettysburg, they get to the fence. And all of a sudden, they're getting hit by this stuff, and it just tears them into pieces. They would also, sometimes they ran out of Grapeshot, so they would put in there anything they could find that would rip an arm off. Pieces of silverware, rocks, pieces of glass, metal, anything. You'd stuff it down there, and it would do the same thing. It's like a shotgun. So nasty stuff. We also had what's called Canistershot. Same idea as Grapeshot, only it's organized differently. This canister is about the size of a big can of peaches at Sam's Club. You know, one of those bulk cans. And you fill it with anything that will do harm. Balls, nails, pieces of metal, rocks, anything like that. And it works the same way that our Grapeshot does. It's going to spread when you shoot, and it's going to tear your people apart. Typically, they could fit 96 iron balls packed in here into sawdust, and it has that same spreading effect as a shotgun. They also had what's called K-Shot. K-Shot was actually a shell with a timed fuse up on the top here, right? There's your fuse, okay? That would burst over the top of the attacking troops. So if you see like a boom, that's actually what was happening. And all those pieces would then rain down on the people beneath them. So if you're wondering what that is, that's how that works. Do you have a question, Austin? Not on the notes? Yeah, just add it, will you please? Add it on the side there. So add K-Shot to your notes. Because I had questions about it. People were like, well, which one is that when we were watching the video? This is K-Shot. And again, the longer the, right, the longer time you have. So you could really time when that cannonball is going to fly off into pieces based on the length of the fuse. Always coming up with new ways to kill people, right? Doing okay? All right. And I think that's it. Yes. Okay, so we'll be going to our movie now.
Out their weapon.